Hello everyone, welcome. Back with another book review. I finished J.R.R. Tolkien's Children of Hurin. Hurin? I think I say that right. Hurin. Let's get a close look at this. Pretty good fan art, conceptual art, and all that stuff. There's some in the book, you know. When you're reading it, you just kind of just look at it for a second, and that's always good. And there's some good maps and genealogies in here. This book takes place in the, I wonder what they call it. Do they call it the Second Age or the First Age? In the book, Silmarillion covers a lot of time and a lot of story of different families of elves and mankind, and the beginnings of dwarves and the creation story, and all the different gods and like the demigods that play a role. And it's kind of a lot of backstory, and I've read the Silmarillion, but this is not a review on the Silmarillion. This is a book about the children of Hurin. Hurin is one of the last great men of one of the original human or man households. There's like three branches of like families or households that came out of the east and kind of intertwined their destinies with the elves. The Noldor, well actually there's many different kinds of elves. Hurin was a mighty chieftain, and he was so mighty that in the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, he was one of the few survivors of his kind, and instead of being killed, I think he killed something like 76 orcs with just him being alive, and they were trying to capture him. And he just kept going and going and going, and they finally captured him. And the mighty darkness evil guy Morgoth, some backstory a little bit there on Morgoth. Morgoth is kind of like the primeval. Sauron, who most people know about because of Lord of the Rings and Hobbit, he was one of Morgoth's lieutenants. Now, we don't hear or see Morgoth in those tales because Morgoth isn't in those tales, and there's a reason for that. And if you're interested, read the Silmarillion. So Hurin gets captured by Morgoth, sent back to his to the kind of the Dread Fortress, and is tortured. And Morgoth himself tortures him and tries to get him to yield, but Hurin, up until the very end, does not yield. And in the face of like this very powerful evil, he just maintains and his vigilance to like not show weakness and to maintain his pride. And he was cursed. They made him blind. It's weird. They make him blind. I think they made him blind, or they took out one of his eyes or something like that. But after they tortured him, Morgoth curses him and his household and his kin, and sets him on top of this mighty tower and gives him the power to be able to watch the doom of his kinsmen and his household. Obviously a magical thing of sorts, because he wasn't actually capable of seeing it, but he was able to like witness and review what's going down with his family. The Children of Hurin follows mostly Turin, who was supposed to be the chief after him. Of course, the battle that they lost really made it so that their hometown Dorlomine kind of had to submit to the Easterling men, who were almost essentially orcs. They were just kind of like subhuman kind of humans. They were just mean and just followed the orders of Morgoth. And also the orc bands would come through from time to time, and so they didn't really have a home anymore. Turin kind of was able to evade being known as Hurin's son. They were able to live there for a while until Turin is sent away to an elven kingdom, which takes him in, and it becomes a man there. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole story, but his experiences go through a lot of the old world wars and trials and tribulations at the time, because Morgoth had a bigger when Turin was around and had his span of life, he definitely was doomed. Every single time that things were looking okay for him, just something else knocked him down a peg or two. And his sister, who comes into play a little bit later, also is doomed, and they both have encounters with the king of kings of dragons, one of the mighty servants of Morgoth, who gives them like followed up curses and like messes with them even further. It's all through Morgoth though, but Glaurung, the king of dragons, has a very negative effect on both the children of Hurin. One of the actually other children of Hurin immediately dies after the battle of some sort of disease because of the battle, and the dragon came and like just tainted the land, and like from the taint of the land there was like new diseases that kind of like mess people up. And before Turin's younger sibling died, she was given like an elven name by like elves that would come through beforehand. Given an elven name that meant laughter, because she would just run through the fields in laughter, and like elves and man would just like watch this kid and just be like blown away by like how much glee and happiness this kid had. Now that kid got wiped out by a disease. Turin ends up being kind of like, he thinks he's shamed from his foster father, who's a really badass like elf named Thingol. He's like, he thinks he's shamed, but he isn't. It's just that he's so prideful he won't go back to Thingol and Doriath, because he thinks he's like not welcome and shamed, even though he's not. And so it's like, he is so misunderstood and so prideful at times. It's just really kind of frustrating. But you still kind of root for him, even though he kind of falls in with some like thieves and villains from time to time. But like he kind of reshapes them into like better men that they have ever been, because he's a very mighty man, and his main goal is just to like get in the way of the Dark Lord's plans and scouting bands of orcs. He's just a thorn in their side. He throughout his life he's nicknamed and giving like legendary type names based on how many different versions of him have like really hurt Morgoth's plans. He seriously has like 3 or 4 names that in stages of his life he goes by, because the enemy is just like, they like know him so well, and for different reasons. Like in the beginning he has a dragon helm he's known by. In the middle he was just kind of like he was known by like the Black Sword, and that's just how he was known for a long time. He was just like a very potent force. In fact, one of the other elven kings, and there's like a handful of them for different reasons, kind of takes him up as a lieutenant of their defense and military eventually, and not in Doriath, in the kingdom of Nargothrond. And that king is enthralled by him, and Turin actually falls in love with like some high-end like elf lady out there. And again, after a while he gets situated, and then Doom comes by and just messes up everything he kind of worked for and worked towards. So this book does not have a happy ending, but it's written by the fantastic author J.R.R. Tolkien, and I went through the appendix a bit, and it talks, his son's talking about everything that he went through to writing different poems and different styles that eventually morphed and turned into like the Silmarillion and the story Children of Hurin. And I recommend any Tolkien fan to pick up this book and read it, and kind of learn more about, like, in Silmarillion it goes through the story, but it's like 6th or 7th of the book, but it's really powerful stuff. But there's so much other stuff going on in that book. Definitely check out Silmarillion. That is like the best Tolkien book. Really enjoyed the book. I'm glad I read it. Been getting a lot of good reading time lately. And my next book I'm going to read, and I'm super excited about that, and I've already started, is the Doctor Who book called Shada. It's a Douglas Adams book. Douglas Adams is one of my favorite authors. I found this just by chance, and I've read maybe 3 or 4 chapters so far. It's so much like Douglas Adams, right? I mean, obviously it's Douglas Adams, but it's so much Douglas Adams-esque in all of his other books, and I'm not surprised. I've read most all of this stuff. I'm in love with this book already, and I'm going to suggest it to anyone else who likes Douglas Adams or even Doctor Who. Now, this was written in the like late 70s, 80s, or early 80s, And so I can't really compare it to my knowledge of Doctor Who because I'm kind of like a new age Doctor Who fan. This seems like it's nice Doctor Who-esque without even necessarily knowing how or what that was at the time when this was written. But super excited about this. Pick it up. It's hard for me to say that now, but like I'm gonna love this book. I love it already. I'm gonna cruise through it. I'm gonna burn through it. It's gonna be awesome. Thanks for coming in and checking out this book review. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I'll go ahead and get it on over with and say goodbye. Yeah, thanks, and I'll see you again soon. And I hope you're enjoying my Half-Life 2 series. All right, guys, I wanted you to catch my kitty Arthur. I want to get him on some action. He is a very special kitty. And that's all I'll say right now. Keep it on a good note. Say bye-bye, kitty. You gonna purr for me? I love you. Okay, he's uncomfortable, so I'm gonna put him down. Kitty. Thank you. All right, guys, thanks again, and yeah, see you soon.